The first thought is that K-pop stans who say 4th gen lack vocals could probably have some of the people who say it being people who are older gen stans who hate the 4th gen as a whole and thus call the generation talentless. Like if some of these are older gen stans who did this. This shows me that the older gen stans with their hatred for 4th gen wouldn't wanna search for the good vocals in 4th gen, but for previous gens they'd gladly do so because they love those gens more, meaning that they hate 4th gen and assume the gen is talentless, so why would they wanna find good vocalists in the 4th gen if finding for the good vocalists will burst their hatred bubble and bring them back to reality because their hatred wasn't valid at all. But for previous gens and their assumption of those gens being talented and 4th gen not being talented, they'd gladly wanna search or list talented people in gens other than 4th gen. It could be them picking and choosing on which gen to look at properly due to biasness and favoritism for one gen over the other, and so maybe some people hating on 4th gen vocals for no reason without research are probably just older gen fans who don't like the newer generation and so will not give it the right care and proper research as other gens due to this. The next thought is that, to clarify again, this thought is for crybaby K-pop stans and not K-pop stans giving me valid reasons as to why they complain, but only for the tantrum stans complaining just to cry about it. Since I was researching for songs for my new 2025 favorites video on Spotify. With the video released before this thoughts video was released, I was on a playlist and decided to check out some of the K-pop artists' new 2025 releases and B-sides, and I opened NCT Dream's new album and saw the last 3 songs were long songs that are long enough for K-pop stans to not be like, K-pop songs are too short, but if I never checked out NCT Dream's album, since I don't stan them, I wouldn't know about these long songs existing. Also, by the way, the songs' names are That Summer being 3 minutes 18 seconds, Miss Me being 3 minutes 26 seconds, and Beautiful Sailing being 3 minutes 21 seconds. I also checked out LE SSERAFIM's new album and I heard Ash, probably my B-side of the year for popular groups, and I heard quite a lot of Korean in the song and I got intrigued, and searched up the lyrics only to see that it had a nice Korean-English mix to me, where the English was not overpowering the Korean for it to be too much English. It felt like a good balance, and also it's 3 minutes 17 seconds and that's long enough for me, and it showed me that I found 4 songs from popular groups being long with one of them being a perfect balance of English and Korean. Also another thing, if you don't like minors debuting more in K-pop, give a spotlight to adults even if it's just individual idols like Sakura from LE SSERAFIM for example, she's 1998 born. My question to K-pop stans is that, why are you guys not promoting these songs that exist amongst these popular groups? Why are you complaining all the time? Where are you in promoting songs that actually give you what you want? Y'all always be talking about how songs have too much English and less Korean, how songs are short, albums are short and all this trashy nonsense, but when there are literal songs, mostly B-sides, that give you guys what y'all actually want, y'all are never there hyping them up, but you guys are the first to comment on a song being so short or something negative about the song when the same group is also doing something positive too, but you refuse to see it. And yes, you refuse to see it, because you guys just wanna cry all the time and never wanna find the solution even amongst groups that you listen to and stan. The things that you want might be lesser amongst popular groups, but it doesn't mean that they're non-existent. You can start something by showing that you actually care and want these things, but why do you choose not to? What does your frustration bring out other than, it's giving fake, when you show you never cared in the first place? I as a music listener never care about these things much, unless it's certain reasons for things like short songs to make me mad, but when I see things like these amongst popular groups, it shocks me and it's not because the group is doing it, but because K-pop stans are not sharing these songs on their channel, at least not the K-pop channels that I've seen cry about these things. They're doing little to nothing when it comes to promoting good, but they put their gears into full speed when it's time to complain. It's dumb that you guys even complain about these things, because why do you complain in the first place just for attention and agreement from others? Why do you act like you care for these things but your care is only meaningless words you share once on your channel and then forget you've ever said them in the first place because you're probably the next day doing the complete opposite of streaming short songs, and K-pop songs with less Korean more English. It's dumb, and you guys should stop. The next thought is that some K-pop stans are losing interest in K-pop and think the quality of K-pop has gone down in recent years, and while I can understand them saying that, the thing is, bringing back a point I think is gonna be used a lot by me for different things that mean the same thing, but maybe you think K-pop's quality is decreasing, making you lose interest in K-pop because you're listening to the groups and artists that make you feel that way. Every time someone says something related to the music, short songs, K-pop not being about the music anymore, anything, it always brings me back to thinking that, it maybe isn't K-pop, but just specific groups that you look at that make you feel that way. I've also said a lot that K-pop isn't a small industry and it's a big one filled with many different artists. There are also different K-pop sounds and genres being done, with artists of different popularities. So losing interest in K-pop isn't really something when your interest being lost is possibly based on popular groups, not 100% sure about that make you feel this way, and if you explore more you might get your interest back. If that is the case, that your interest and you saying, K-pop's quality is decreasing, is based mostly on the mainstream side and popular groups, then you're missing out on hidden gems that are lost under being from unknown artists and music videos, or lower budget companies who make good music but don't have money to promote them, or bigger budgeted labels who have the finances but are not known or popular or mainstream. Also, how can we be so sure your interest lost in K-pop and thinking K-pop is declining in quality is based on your view of K-pop when you possibly, again not 100% sure, just an assumption, only look at title tracks and forget the less popular or hidden B-sides by popular groups not given much attention to by K-pop stans, if again you're only looking at popular groups. There are lots of B-sides in K-pop that are not as popular even amongst popular groups, because even if a group is popular, I'm not sure every stan of that group knows every song of theirs. Losing interest in K-pop and also thinking that K-pop's quality is declining are valid takes to have if you can give me valid reasonings, but it's also a point to remember with how you're looking at K-pop that makes you think this way. K-pop is losing quality, is saying one thing, but then providing reasonings by naming a couple of groups and their songs, and those groups you named are the most popular top groups currently, with the songs you named being ones that are short or come off as lazy or made to be catchy. Viral garbage is another, because context does matter. You name these songs, but then forget actual good songs hidden away in less popular tracks or B-sides by the same groups you name who are huge. If you do that, it would show others that you're just saying things when you don't actually know if it's true, because you're not looking at the whole picture and only looking at songs that give people these thoughts, and not looking at songs that could be very good counter-arguments that I'm sure exists, because popular groups are not always gonna release hot garbage all the time. Even rare, or hidden away mostly in underrated B-sides, there's gonna be something good. You cannot say these things, if your reasonings for saying these things aren't fully checked on because you see some songs and ignore the rest. The next thought is that, I've already talked about before that for me K-pop being K-pop should be the language, so if K-pop artists sing in Korean, the song is K-pop, but if they sing in English, the song is not K-pop just because the artist releasing it is K-pop, and that if English songs are considered K-pop, then Western artists can also be considered K-pop because they sing in the same English language. I've said similar things before and I wanted to expand more. People consider artists K-pop because they debut under Korean labels, but are they still K-pop if they do music that is trot music, for example, that is not K-pop, or if the label debuts another language music artist like J-pop or C-pop? Plus, if they sing in another language other than Korean, like Japanese or English, then how is the song they release K-pop even when it's in another language? Because when do you draw the line of calling an artist's song K-pop, and when is the artist's song not K-pop in your eyes? If a K-pop artist signs to a Western label for Western promotions and releases a song under a Western label, why don't y'all ever consider the group to be Western? Because y'all surely call a group K-pop being under a K-pop label. I'm not trying to say, oh, a group is not K-pop anymore because they released a song not in Korean, because they definitely still are K-pop while having other labels, like being a J-pop group because they sang in Japanese when they made their Japanese debut, for example. But what I'm trying to say is that y'all are so okay with labeling anything K-pop just because the artists themselves are K-pop, but never see any other sides to call them anything else. What if the artist is trying not to be K-pop anymore, and focuses more on Western music as an example, and is trying to move away from their K-pop identity, but you still consider them K-pop, then isn't it wrong for you to do so? Also, you say, they're under a K-pop label, so they're K-pop, but what if the K-pop artist is under a non-Korean label managed by them fully, like for example being under a Western label, being managed by them and the artist is not under the K-pop label anymore? Wouldn't that make you into a hypocrite because of you possibly still calling the artist K-pop even when you yourself said, they're under X label, so it makes them X artist? It definitely does seem that way. Take this for an example. If a popular Chinese drama has a Korean adaptation, and the makers of the adaptation keep the storyline the same but it's in a Korean setting, Korean actors are playing roles and the language is in Korean, is the drama still a Chinese drama if everything but the storyline changes? So, it's the same here for me. If you release an English song, does the song still remain K-pop if the language changes? And if the song is released under a Western label the K-pop artist has signed to for Western audiences and the only thing keeping their K-pop identity of the artist is the fact they're labeling themselves as a K-pop act, then is it still K-pop if only their K-pop label makes them K-pop in this instance? Again, I'm not saying their whole K-pop identity removes and goes away, but I'm just talking about in particular instances with songs in other languages. Their K-pop identity remains, but they also get new identities too like J-pop, C-pop etc., releasing music in those languages for those audiences even if it's just Japanese, Chinese versions to their original Korean music. The artist being K-pop originally doesn't change the fact that they're singing in another language. Why are you guys trying so hard to call anything a K-pop artist releases is K-pop even when the language doesn't remain in the song? K-pop is Korean pop, and if the Korean part of the K in K-pop doesn't mean the language to you, then what else can it possibly mean? Because to me, I simply keep it down to the language so that I can just be like, K-pop is Korean pop meaning that anything sung in Korean is K-pop, and music not in Korean isn't K-pop. That's it. The next thought is that, I don't know if people actually believe someone is underrated or they just don't understand what underrated properly means, because whenever I see underrated used for anything, it's related to popular K-pop groups of the past and present and it sucks. While I do understand that underrated can be used in terms of certain things related to that group. But that term only comes to play, methinks, when we can actually know if the term holds up and that's when the activities are individual which is when I believe the underrated term can hold its meaning, because as a group even underrated members are still somewhat popular to an extent because they're people who talk about them being underrated or that X idol in X group needs to be appreciated more. Plus again, the group is a big name so it's not like there's any members who are unknown to the public. The group is popular to the point that every member is known to everyone. With individual activities, as I mentioned above, is where I think the term underrated truly comes to play because we'll know with an idol getting individual activities. Like a solo debut or maybe the idol likes to act and makes a debut in a K-drama, that's when we'll know true underratedness because of how well the song, show, movie etc. or whatever solo projects the idol does, and if it doesn't do as well, any of the solo ventures of the idol they do within the group, then it might affect their careers post-group when the group disbands and everyone goes their separate ways, and the idol might truly become underrated. In a group setting, specifically popular groups, I don't think any member can really be underrated if the group has a lot of fans, because even the amount of people who bias least biased members in the group would be a good amount which if you were to compare to actual bottom of the barrel Nugu groups, I think it would be more than all the members of the Nugu K-pop groups, total bias count combined. Popular groups can never be underrated in any category methinks. Because of their huge fanbase and there's always someone somewhere on the internet talking about how they need to be talked about more which, similar to my ITZY hasn't fallen off take in a previous K-pop thoughts video, shows that just like people talking about ITZY these idols are again, also being talked about showing they're not that underrated if people notice them enough to talk about them and also, if you talk about a member in a popular group in terms of them being underrated there will be people in the comments coming who might agree with you and those comments might be enough to prove that they're not that underrated. Back to my main point, we will only know true underratedness when the idol stands on their own in solo, individual activities no matter what they do. To end this point, I will say this example which might break down the point clearly. And that is looking at popular groups, they cannot really be underrated because they're popular to begin with and so talking about certain aspects of a group and saying that part is underrated. You're essentially bringing that popular group into discussion, which would take their popularity further, leading more people to agree with you, as I said above, but compare that to actual underrated groups. Talking about them more helps them get closer to popularity, but it also gets people to comment who don't actually know who the group are. Popular groups cannot be underrated as a group because they're not unknown for people to be like, who? And they have enough of a fanbase of people who know all the members' names, and other aspects of them, to be bringing up, oh, member B is underrated in X thing. People always be bringing up member A as the best, but forget about member B, which shows people talking about member B also knows about member A, and others who agree in the comments also know about both members, so thus showing again that the group is not underrated. I hope this point was understandable. Lol. The next thought is that, I feel like if a K-pop group is seen as a group overdoing a certain sound or something for their title tracks, they get viewed as that sound group negatively. Like for example, I saw a short about unpopular aespa opinions, and they were on the part about their music and said these exact words: every song sounds like the last one, next level, savage, girls. Name a track that doesn't feel like it's trying too hard to be edgy. Here's the original opinion for context.
Then there's their music. You can't tell me these tracks haven't started to blend together into a factory-made, earworm nightmare. Every song sounds like the last one. Next level, savage, girls. Name a track that doesn't feel like it's trying way too hard to be edgy. Like someone said, just throw a bunch of electronic noises in there and call it a day.
And looking back at the opinion, I can name aespa songs not trying too hard to be edgy, Where We Have Forever, I See You, Life's Too Short, Better Things, and I'm Unhappy, amongst others that exist in their catalog. This person giving those song examples showed me that they're judging aespa based on title tracks, and even more so the main promoted title tracks, and not the singles that also have MVs but don't feel like main title tracks because they might not have B-sides alongside them. And yes, they're judging based on titles alone and the main promoted ones, because nobody who knows a group's discography properly would say something so dumb. This channel was full on judging aespa based on a generalized view of their discography from the top of the aespa iceberg. And coming back to the original point I made, seeing this channel generalize about aespa, it really shows me that if K-pop stans see a group a certain way, for example a group being seen as a group who does the same type of songs over and over, then that group is seen as, they make the same song over and over, can't they make something else other than the same tired recycled trash, when these K-pop stans are just looking at those tracks which are most probably main title tracks amongst B-sides that are different. This is not a good look on you if you do this, because you're just a hater then. I don't stan aespa, but I know for a fact that as a K-pop stan myself I should not be in the slightest bit making generalizations about a K-pop group's music sounding a certain way leading me to view them negatively, because it's not like the K-pop group is doing that throughout their whole discography and me seeing a group a certain way because of the music. It's not like I'm gonna find those types of songs in every song they've released, because not every song is gonna be like that. If it was that, then the discography of the group would be soulless, which at that point might as well get robots to sing in their place then, right? If you for example think, oh, this group is releasing the same song over and over again, which is just a generalization, but in your eyes, you think you ate with that take, but if you're saying this then why not just want the group to be replaced by robots who can do the same thing, but the only difference is the vocals will sound like an actual robot. The last thought is that, I saw a K-pop opinions video calling Cat's Eye K-pop, and here's the original opinion before I move on.
Hey everyone, so I've been thinking a lot about Cat's Eye lately, and I just need to get this off my chest. There's this ongoing debate about whether they're a K-pop group or not, and honestly, it's getting exhausting. I mean, how long are fans gonna keep saying Cat's Eye isn't K-pop when everything they do screams K-pop? They film in Studio Chum, they do relay dances, they appear on Korean music shows, they hide their hairstyles before comebacks, like, come on. That's textbook K-pop behavior. And let's not ignore the fact that most of their fans are already active in K-pop spaces. At this point, what even separates them from other K-pop groups? Is it just the race of the members? Because if that's the argument, then we're not talking about music anymore, we're talking about something way more uncomfortable. K-pop isn't just a genre, it's an industry. And Cat's Eye debuted under that industry. So yeah, I think it's fair to say they're K-pop adjacent at the very least. Denying that feels more like a refusal to accept reality than a genuine critique.
Well, doing studio chum and promoting on Korean music shows, as examples mentioned in the video, doesn't automatically make someone K-pop. If that were the case, then LE SSERAFIM is a Western pop group for singing at Coachella, TXT is a Western pop group for singing on The Kelly Clarkson Show, an American Western talk show. So what if they act K-pop? It doesn't make them K-pop if they don't sing in Korean. If you as a K-pop stan act like a K-pop idol for fun, does that make you a K-pop idol? No, because you'd have to train under a K-pop agency and then debut to be considered a K-pop idol. Just acting like something K-pop doesn't automatically make you K-pop. All these people trying to say things to defend calling someone K-pop when they're not, or calling English or Japanese songs by K-pop artists K-pop simply because the artist is K-pop is invalid and dumb. I already talked about why I don't consider English songs by K-pop artists to be K-pop in a previous thought in this video, so I won't bring that up. It annoys me that K-pop stans call anything K-pop, because if English songs by K-pop artists can be K-pop, Japanese songs by K-pop artists can be K-pop, global non-K-pop groups like Cat's Eye can be K-pop, then what is the need for other languages, music and other things, etc.? Just call everyone in the world K-pop, because it's so easy for y'all to refer to anyone as K-pop despite singing in another language other than Korean, simply because they're under a K-pop label. Even if they're not K-pop and not singing in Korean, then why have labels like Western artists, J-pop, which is Japanese pop music, C-pop, which is Chinese pop music, T-pop, which is Thai pop music, M-pop, which is Malaysian pop music, and Q-pop, which is Kazakhstani pop music, etc. Just remove all the labels and have one big K-pop label for all countries, all music, all languages. Make it simpler for everyone. IVE is K-pop, but so is American singer Taylor Swift K-pop, also Spanish singer Rosalía is K-pop, also Greek singer Claudia is K-pop. We should end all labels and unite everyone under K-pop. You're K-pop, I'm K-pop. Yay, we're all K-pop.